Hey, Sienna here. Super excited for this Tuesday training with Mike and myself. We're going to just bring some fire when it comes to real estate and also social media. I'm going to burn down your social media today. If your social media is not working, I'm going to tell you why. Might be a little bit of a hard message to hear, but I'm going to tell you how to make it come alive and be on fire. So I'm Sienna, and I want to introduce you to Mike Herbert, my business partner, real estate rock star. He's going to lead us in the training today. So, Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I grew up in a real estate family. Father was a real estate property lawyer, taught it, lived it, represented some pretty significantly well-known Southern California real estate transactions with the city of Los Angeles, the city of Santa Barbara County, and a couple of other areas where his firm worked directly in public sector. So he worked for a lot of cities, Irvine, Orange County, San Diego, Rancho Cucamonga, Burbank. Pretty much every city in Southern California has touched his former, he's retired now, but his former law firm in Los Angeles. And then later on, I was always interested in real estate. Grew up in Santa Barbara, grew up in a little community, Rolling Hills, Palos Verdes, down in South Bay, LA. And I was always around Southern California, and I was always admiring architecture. So yeah, that's where I got it. That's where the bug came from. And, what you're doing and what we're doing here in the production of marketing for realtors, that is where my zest comes, because my enthusiasm level just goes through the roof when you start talking about little intricacies of, mega mansions and luxury and real property and raw land and developers and all that. So that is me personally, my personal background. Santa Barbara, Southern California is my background, where I grew up, still live here. I am standing in Wrightwood, California, in a mountain cabin that is actually one that we own. And I work all over Southern California.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing. So
Personal
I'm a California girl too, growing up in Northern California, raising Arabians.
That's right. You raise Arabian horses. That just sounds gnarly when you say that.
Helping my parents with the marketing for our brochures. I was the editor of our school paper, been doing this communication thing, the whole marketing thing since I was in high school. Love it, love it, love it. It's in my blood. Right now I'm sitting on 160 acres in rural Northern California, almost by the Oregon border, and loving life on the ranch. We have an Arabian horse, and we raise Jack Russell Terriers. And I do the marketing for all that too.
That's crazy. It's funny you mentioned that, Sienna. We both have studied many phenomenal business leaders in the world, and one of them that comes to me is Richard Branson, and his obviously ultimate, Virgin Airways and all the different things he's been involved with, but Virgin Records, all that stuff. But he was a childhood, I believe, newspaper boy, and immediately the sense of ownership and creating a business out of his paper route it was just second nature. So I really appreciate that when you say, yep, I was raised advertising everything. Because I don't think I caught on to advertising and marketing until I was like 30s. I did other things. I was a commercial fisherman until I was 30. So I didn't really focus on marketing, focused on catching lots of fish.
Yep. It's funny how we can allow life to distract us from our passions so easy.
Yeah. And you know what, too, and just our introduction is running over, but I love it. We got all the time in the world. These are the conversations that clients appreciate. They really do. I could sit with great friends of mine that have known me for years and go, oh no, here goes that story again. Oh no, the stories aren't important. We know, coming from the schools of thought that we've both studied in, that the stories aren't important in the movement, but there's a part of that story that makes it more personal and opens the door to heart when you're talking to a client, because they feel like they know you. They know you at a personal level. And I think for me in what I do in marketing, real estate specifically, exactly that personal relationship with everybody. So people say, oh, well, you've got to separate personal from business. I don't believe that. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe the most successful people in the world would tell you that. Just, it's something you believe. You just believe it.
Mm-hmm. When you share about stories, it's like there's two types of stories we can talk about in this conversation. The stories that are going on in our minds and our mindsets that are control us in who we are today and how we're showing up in life, in every aspect of our life.
Right.
And then there's the stories that, like the Russell Brunson talks about in marketing, like that story in your marketing and your messaging and your branding that's going to connect to people, that you can connect with them emotionally and take them all the way down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about what you brought up yesterday before we get into this, what we're going to get into. You mentioned that you grew up in a place called Port Alexander, Alaska. Okay. When I graduated high school, I went to Port Alexander to fish. I don't know anybody except commercial fishermen on the planet that knows where or what Port Alexander is. It just sounds like, it just sounds like a port, right? But if you've been there and you understand like that most walking on 2 feet citizens of the world would have a massive living curve if they went to Port Alexander to live because of the way it is. I just think that's the coolest thing in the world. That is exactly what we're talking about right now with our clients. That's what we do. I did that when we've only known each other a few months, and we've worked together more of the months than we've even known each other. But that thing that accidentally came up is something that we understand that not a lot of people can understand that. So I'm going to jump off the boat here and kind of parlay that into a client experience that I had. Okay. And this is where those stories can cultivate a connection with clients, like what you were talking about just now, which is talking about personal things like that. I had a client, happened to be in Woodland Hills again, and we were just getting to know each other, right? And I mentioned Southern California, and when you say Southern California, it's a very big place, the size of most countries in Europe, right? It's a different count, like San Bernardino County, largest county in the continental United States. It's huge, and I'm talking to this client, and as it turns out, he grew up on the same street in Rolling Hills, Palos Verdes that I did before I moved to Santa Barbara in the 70s as a child. And that connection and the people that I left too early to have any kind of a deep relationship with a lot of people except for two, right? But that is a connection that he and I will never forget, right? And he's a client actually that I'm working with right now because he's got a property in North Hollywood as well that we might put on the market. It's a really good time to put properties on the market right now, especially in North Hollywood. I'm not even going to talk about what the property would be worth, but I mean, it's very, very, positive to put your house on the market right now. It just is. It's off the hook. But that's that connection. And that is exactly what we were just talking about. Without it, I have no relationship. I'm like a service robot walking into a room with a realtor tag on my shirt and maybe a baseball cap or no hat or maybe a suit. And I look like a typical guy that got out of a BMW. And I sit there with a few papers and I tell people what the numbers are. And I walk out of the room and I'm one of 6 agents that's competing for a listing, which is all legit. But it's that personal, deep connection that makes it more special and makes you as an agent, you as a marketer, more valuable. Here I go, looking at my notes. Makes you more valuable, right? That is what we create. Something I'm going to talk about just now that I just slipped my mind, but it was on the lines of the same thing. In creating that trust and value, that is, you can't touch it. You can't beat it. There's no example of that. I think there's a story. You know what? I lost. It was just another tidbit of information about personal relationship. But the reality of a personal relationship in business is it makes you a better part of their world of business. You're not walking into someone's living room, but they all but would invite you to Christmas when you do your job at the level that we're talking about, right? Right? Does that make sense? Okay, so this is actually the point I was saying. I'm going to use a different industry, but it's the same thing, okay? I used to work in technology, and I was the lead sales engineer for a company that used to be known as Gateway, okay? And I met with pretty much every small business client that they had in Southern California. And my job was to sell and design business solutions with servers and software and all this stuff. Just think of that as like designing buildings. Let's just keep it in the real estate world. It's the same thing, okay? But the biggest part of that job that I did, and I know that every one of my loyal clients, even up to the end when I was closing the business down, they would tell you that at least once a month, sometimes more than that, I would actually be serving as their therapist at the office as opposed to their IT guy. Mm-hmm. And that sounds funny. And I say that with a total grain of salt because it was hilarious. I would sit for sometimes an extra hour or two helping a client because that's what business is. If you're an entrepreneur and you're in business, like what we do in real estate, this is so personal. It has to be personal. And that's what we got to do. That's what we get to do every day. We get to do that every day and wake up in the morning and meditate and cultivate and think of a new way that we're going to go out and meet a client and just open the floodgates, in my case, the flamethrower, and just start going for it and talking to people all day.
Right.
That's what this camera's doing right now. It's giving us the ability to talk to people all day, right?
Yep.
Well, if you walk out the door, and let's just plug our students here for a minute. If you walk out the door, simple task, pull this out of the discussion here. Say hello, nice to meet you, have a nice day to at least 10 people. Double down if you want to be a successful agent, 20. Just go out and say hi to people and smile. That's it. Because people don't do that as much as they used to. And they're caught up in all the things going on in the world and the market and the economy. Oh, and the gas prices right now? Okay? They're all talking about miserable shit. Okay? And it's not miserable shit. It's just shit. It's just stuff. Focus on the Focus on the stuff that's going to make all that a non-issue. What we're doing right here, right now. Yep. You know, Ted McGrath does it. Grant Cardone does it. Garrett J. White does it. You know, Tony Robbins. I have been made fun of over the last 20 years by people calling me, where the fuck is Tony Robbins? Meaning me. Like, I'm glad you didn't bring Tony Robbins. He talks too much. Mr. Positive just showed up. It's like, how is that something that would be, you know what I mean? Like that to me is the greatest compliment I think I've ever got.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And if you say that to someone and they look back at you a week later and they go, God, I'm stoked I met you, man. You're just like no other person I've ever met. I'm not saying I get that all the time, but that's what I'm striving for because it's the real me. It's not like I'm trying to do it. And that's what I'm trying to teach here and convey and push out the freaking flamethrower. I think I'm going to get a flamethrower. Garrett's got a sword. I'm getting a flamethrower. That's going to be my new prop. I got the fireplace right now, but I'm going to get a real live. Yeah, that's what we're doing. It's done. Awesome. Consider it done. Document that right now, Sienna.
Flamethrower
Mike. Flame fucking thrower. So coming back, do you have anything else right now?
I was just going to say that's why it's so important in your messaging of who you are.
Right.
And connecting, you know, dialing down your audience.
Right.
Because I love the word that you spoke of, like therapist. It's like that in any industry, in marketing. They're going to cry to me about what's not working, and I'm going to listen to their sad story for a little bit before I shut them down and say, hey, let's do something different. Real estate. It's just like you talked about, you know, the family that's coming in, they lost a family member and they need to sell. They need to close the door. Could just be as simple as a cat. They're worried about rehoming their cat or their dog or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But caring and listening is going to be a huge asset. And if you're going to be caring and taking time with people that you're not connecting with, that you don't really give a crap about, it's not going to work for you.
Right. I think it was said by one of our great motivational Instagrammers, and I'm going to quote him because I'm going to paraphrase quote him because I don't remember exactly how he said it, but it was Gary V. And Garrett talks sometimes about, you know, watch a Gary V video and go get motivated. Well, there's a lot more behind that, which is what we do and what we talk about in that conversation and that training world. But when you sit down with someone, Gary said this in a video once, he said, if I sit down with someone and break bread and I spend 1 hour listening to someone talk about how many things they have to do and how horrible the traffic was yesterday and how dreadful it was getting up in the morning and how, you know, picking out people at work that bother you, he's done. Sorry. I can't do that. Me, I take it to the next level. I start trying to help that change. Doesn't mean I pull it off. It just means it's almost like an impenetrable like shield. You know, I just don't like get it. I don't understand that. It to me, it's like negativity is just like, you know, a car driving by and spraying you with mud. You just got to wash it off and keep going. I don't know why I came up with that analogy, but it sounded cool because there was a car driving by out there and there's snow in the street. That's where I got it.
In Southern California, it's snowing. It's funny.
Well, okay, Southern California at 6,000 plus elevation at mountain high ski area, which is on fire with state-of-the-art snowmaking machines and plenty of natural snow on the ground. Like, when we're done with this, I can strap up and go snowboarding right now. It's bitching. It's really nice right now, and the season's still good, and it's real cold, so the snow's good. So yes, Southern California, I can be in Wrightwood, California, real estate pitch 101 for the day. Southern California, I'm at the mountains. I can go snowboard right now and catch evening glass off in Newport Beach, surfing within an hour of each other. That's gnarly. That's cool. And everybody wants to leave California? No, Sorry, you're nuts. I don't care what your politics are. California rocks. Okay, so back to what we were talking about, training. I want to focus on self-work as a real estate agent, developing a knowledge of yourself. And I'm talking about it here live because everybody's going to see it, and it's there, it's recorded, and it stays there in this training for our students, right? But there's something that you and I both did a long time ago, and this is another commonality that we both studied, called the personality matrix. There's different names for it, I think. Yeah. Have you ever heard of it? Have you ever heard of a different name for it?
Quadrant. They call it quadrants. Communication quadrants.
Communication quadrants. That's it. Exactly. The communication quadrants, known as promoter, the controller, the supporter, and the analyst. I'm going to repeat them for our students. The promoter, go figure. The promoter, the controller, the supporter, and the analyst. And there has to be, usually in some kind of a formidable like business relationship, everybody needs to kind of recognize where they sit inside of that communication quadrant, right? Does it sound? Check 1, 2.
Sorry, I put myself on mute.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
So with that said, I'm going to talk about me. Okay. I am a promoter. I was born that way. Okay. I'm not a controller, but I have to have a little bit of it. Rephrase. I get to study enough of it that I can manage that communication thread. And then support and analyst are probably the driving force behind the supporters, behind the promoters and the controllers. I think that's the way they wrote it originally, just think of the way you comprehend it. So when I walk into a room, I need to remember that. Not necessarily, study book, communication matrix stuff. I need to walk in and use a tool that I learned, and I told you about this, I think, once. I have a friend who's a Green Beret, 11 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, and they use a tool that they teach deeply to, it's actually a terrorist hostage communication tool when you get captured, but it's called LPTR. Listen, pause, think, respond. Listen, and during that pause, that's where you got to be. You get to think about yourself in relation to the other person, so that you create your own empathetic thinking process instead of being quick to come to a conclusion, which is something I am extremely guilty of because I go way too fast. So that is a tool I'm going to throw into the matrix. LPTR, listen, pause, think, respond. It's a wonderful tool. It sounds basic. It's almost like the count to 3 before you say anything rule, but it's deeper than that because there's so much behind it. It's like sometimes I'll be going so fast in a conversation that I have to stop, use some tools I learned over the years to listen better and actually remember what we were talking about. That I'm not kidding. Like, I consciously ask questions to take a person deeper into a discussion so that I'm not the one in control. It's my way of defusing myself, because I can come across as way, way too excited. And that's okay, because that's kind of what people like about me. But the reality is that's what sells. Enthusiasm, like true enthusiasm, not just motivation. Motivation is great, but motivation equals nothing with no work behind it. You can wake up in the morning motivated and 2 hours later be like, forget it. And a week later, forget about what you were doing. That's why we have tools like CRM and MLS and all the things we use to remind ourselves and set reminders and do these things. Which brings me back to the promoter and the controller, right?
Mm-hmm.
The promoter has to be in control of the direction that the conversation is going. So I'm going to use an example. It just comes to mind right now. I have a meeting next week with a massively well-known Canadian developer who's coming to Palm Springs to buy a property that's now at $2.2 million. Raw land, some entitlements, not a lot. Some stickler issues because it's an Indian-owned piece of property, dear friends of mine. And we have been working on this property for like 3.5 years, okay? And when you're working with property, you got to go to the city. You got to know things that people don't normally know, okay? So anyway, this guy's come to meet me. He's not even coming in with the hopes of an escrow opening next week. He's just coming in to meet me, have lunch, and develop a deeper personal relationship with me because I'm the boots on the ground in Palm Springs for him. He's got another agent too. I'm on the seller side of most of the properties he's looking at. So he's got another agent. But this dude is coming in from Canada to just hang out. Obviously, he's got other developments going on there. But that to me is a client. Like that's time. We did a meeting about, I want to say 6 months ago, 4 months ago, I think. We did a Zoom meeting. This is a great tool. We used Zoom. I had a secretary. He had a secretary, an assistant, an attorney, his agent, and me. We used Zoom. Agents use Zoom. Yeah. If you want to practice, call us up. We'll practice with, okay? Because there is kind of a protocol you want to use. Another meeting comes to mind, another great meeting, personal meeting with another company that's buying a golf course that I represent, okay? For those that don't know this, there is a moratorium on golf courses and buildings and developments going on top of them in Palm Springs, but this is a special circumstance. And the people that I was seeing were all involved in a nonprofit conservancy to preserve a certain area that I actually represent the land on. So I had a Zoom meeting with the mayor of Palm Springs, the representatives from the conservancy, me, attorneys. Like this is what makes me tick. This is what real estate's all about. Okay. No, it has not sold yet. Okay. But it will. There's no doubt it'll sell. It's just loving the journey. Like love the journey, out your results, and the results will explode like you would never expect. That's just my little pump up the volume talk for the day. Okay, so let's go back to the value, influence, trust, and confidence. So when you're confident in yourself, right? When you know who you are and you're not coming in nervous or shaking or skeptical about having a discussion about something you might not necessarily know about, don't be afraid to tell a client, I don't really know that answer. I know exactly who I need to speak with on that, but I'm going to get you that answer. And then just get them the answer. Next topic. Clients appreciate that. You can't stay promoting without dipping into analyst. That's an analyst dip right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what do you think about that, Sienna?
Well, I've had a lot of thoughts while you were sharing about communication quadrant.
Fire hose it. I want to hear about it.
Yeah. I land between the promoter and controller, and it depends on who I'm working with, really. Because working with you, I'm going to move into a controller place. And that's the huge part of it, knowing who you are, but also walking into a room and reading someone. Marketing is a psychology.
Right.
And so is this communication quadrant. It's just like being able to read who they are as far as what quadrant they're in. Because if they, like, especially when you're doing real estate, like if you're dealing with someone that are in an analytical quadrant, if you tell them a number that's kind of like, it's kind of there, it's not the exact number, they're going to think you're a liar.
Right.
So it's like, I could say, oh, I sold this house for $1 million. It has to be like $1.01 penny.
Right.
Or they're going to start thinking, because of their analytical, mindset, can I trust this person?
Yeah, it's like the engineer that has to know the exact calculation because there is no other answer.
Right.
Math is finite.
So if they're talking to a promoter and you can just kind of like frivolously like speak that number, and they're like, yeah, that's cool. And they're like totally spontaneous.
Right.
So when you walk into the room and you could read that person and you know, okay, this person is a controller, they're going to be all about the business and very task oriented. This is what we need to close this deal. Right. So it's really important to know where you land on this quadrant, and also what your clients are like, where they're landing, so you can communicate with them effectively.
Yeah, we were talking about that too. If I might hit pause on that for a sec, but we were talking about that. A lot of new agents, like when I became an agent, I was a new agent, but I had a lot of experience in real estate. And, I'm not a builder, but I know a lot of people that build, and I have a need to know, and I know who I can call to get answers. I'm going to plug Eric Jackson Construction up in Santa Barbara. That dude will answer the phone for me anytime and answer any question I have about construction. I freaking love that. Like, that's important for a real estate agent. That needs to be in your arsenal, along with a flamethrower. You gotta have your connections. Okay. I used to always tell people that. I go, you gotta be able to, that's a really important thing. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Total admittance there. I lost where I was going with that.
No worries. You'll come back to it.
I might. Hopefully. If I don't, it's okay. We'll go on to something else. So we were talking about new agents. That's where I got that. So a new agent comes in to real estate having passed a test that has all this law stuff in it. Now, I'm not going to be the guy that tells you that test and everything you remember from that test, other than when you take your 3-year renewal, continuing education, are you ever going to really use it? But you know what? You will. It will come up. So I recommend always be learning, always be studying something. I just brought up construction, right? So I was thinking about this earlier. So if you're a brand new agent and you essentially have, a broker that's really traditional and, postcards, door knocking, little MLS events and, association events and things like that. Okay, that's great. Go to the county building department. Get a bunch of information. Learn this stuff. And along the way, you'll probably hand out and get at least 10 or 15 phone numbers from people that you meet, because you're going to be standing in line at the county or city building department. Real estate, what do you call it? Tip 102, I think, of the day, right? Just a random way of looking at the dreadful line that you're going to be standing in at the county. Maybe not now with COVID's a little weird, but there, things are open again. That's a great place to get real estate deals. Hit it, everybody.
Yeah.
So new agents, back to new agents though. We were both talking about that, and that's what made me think of what we're talking about. New agents, what would you have that we together have worked with in the different forms of lead capture, of online media, click funnel marketing, things like that? What do you see bringing to the new agent that kind of has no clue other than, hey, I just sold this property, or hey, I'm at an open house? I get it, it's cool. But I can tell you right now, I have never had someone come to my open house because of my Instagram post. Never happened.
Nope.
It just hasn't. I mean, some people it does. I know a buddy of mine from PLG, John Campbell, JC. He's badass. He is a social media marketer master. I love that guy. And we're still great friends, but that is not normal. Most people just post random, unrelated, not targeted, a picture of themselves and a house.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't need to be a real estate agent to do that. You gotta be legal, have a number there. But the point is you don't need to be a rocket scientist to put your picture in front of a house, right?
Right. So as far as throwing
my question.
Answering your question.
My question.
Flamethrower, I'll talk about the social media, and then I'll talk about lead generation, because both of them are absolute must if you want to be successful in this business.
Right.
That word focused with social media, very focused, and knowing who you are, knowing who your audience are, and being very specifically targeted there in every single thing that you post. Right. On Facebook, you're allowed to have 5,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I would recommend tearing that down, because if that 5,000 people aren't relative to your business, you're not laser focused. Tell your friends, your family, follow me on Facebook, and focus. Like if you want to work with families with this certain income, whatever you choose to focus on, that's the audience that you want to build with every single person that's in your market or on your Facebook. Yeah. And that might mean getting rid of 2,000 friends. And so, we can talk more about, who your market is, your target market, narrowing that down demographically, where you live, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But the other way is through powerful lead generation, setting up a system. We use ClickFunnels. We love ClickFunnels. It works. It's proven. Lots of strategy goes into this. Starting out with a funnel that's been producing billions of dollars in another industry that I have in my back pocket. We have in our back pocket. We help our clients set that up. So you have a system that's like an ATM. You need some, you build it.
ATM machine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cash machine. Has to be set up right though. And I've been doing ClickFunnels for 5 years. And even setting this up, I was like a little bit pulling out my hair.
Right.
Because it's techie.
Sure.
And then once you have your system built, you have your automated system built, you have to tell people where that cash machine is.
Right.
You can come and find it, which we use Facebook ads. You can use Google ads, Instagram ads. Facebook and Instagram are connected. I'm sure there's LinkedIn ads, but there's a science in the Facebook ads too.
Yeah.
So, marrying your system and your ads together to target your specific audience is what's going to bring you leads every day to your business, instead of just like wasting time posting, oh, I'm at my open house. Your aunt cares about that. She might come and visit you, bring you cookies.
Right.
But people that want to buy or sell a house, probably not.
Yeah. And that direct vein into the connection with other agents is what comes to mind there. Okay. If you're an agent that protects your field of influence, so for lack of a better, okay, that's keeping a secret, right?
Mm-hmm.
And keeping a secret in real estate, some look at that as, well, I don't want to let my competition know what's going on. You know what? I want to let my competition know everything, all of it, because who's going to have more power in the conversation when that arena is created and we're all competing for a particular client? And I'm the one that's given the most information and the most commitment to that conversation, regardless of whether or not I get this listing or not. I'm not playing chess. I'm not trying to capture the king and win the whole thing and you all die. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be and influence people into a place that says, hey, you know what? This guy doesn't hide anything. He doesn't leave any stone unturned. Even the stones that don't need to be turned, because we know what's there, he still turns them to make sure it's still the same stuff. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is what you're talking about when it comes to lead generation and that target market, I believe. And we were talking about it before we went live today, and that's, age range. My goal, this would be a great visionary thing, is to literally bring the agents that we're bringing into Agents on Fire, a whole slew of 18 to 25-year-old guys, because there's no reason why college kids should not be real estate agents. They would have a blast, and their parents would be really happy too. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, just that comes to mind. So let's jump into another topic, and I'm going to let you pick the topic because I didn't want to put too many topics in front of me, because yesterday too many topics made me lose track of what I was talking about. So we have our topic complete for the day, for the time being, and that's the communication quadrants. And we're going to go deeper on that in another class, probably. And I'm going to actually jump to this because I know I need to anyway. The Firestorm Boot Camp that's coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our challenge goes from Monday to Tuesday, right? Am I thinking right? No, it goes Monday to Sunday.
Monday.
Yeah, Monday to Monday. Sorry, Monday to Monday. Right, Monday, 7 days. Hello. But Saturday and Sunday are the Firestorm Boot Camp, okay? And I know we're going to go way deep on this over the weekend, because I'll tell you, I can see all the agents waking up on Monday morning with 3 more listings or 3 more potential buyer clients right away if they use this tool properly. And we're going to go deep dive on that this weekend, because I love this topic. This is one of my favorite topics, because it razors in my communication skills. My presentation and promoter skills get refocused like lasers, kind of like the difference between a shotgun and a sniper.
Yep.
Yeah.
Laser focused.
So let's go with this. Let's go down the rabbit hole of your topic.
My topic.
Your topic. I'm calling you out. Your topic.
Okay. So today I wanted to talk more about social media.
Yeah, right. That's right.
And we kind of dived into it yesterday, but I'm going to take off my hat a little bit.
And I'm putting a log in the fire while you do that.
My hair, now I have hat hair, but
hat head.
Hat head. Going back into the conversation of social media, and yesterday we asked you to kind of pick a platform, decide what platform you want to play on. I'm going to play on Facebook because that's kind of where I've been playing.
Right.
Deciding on your audience. Who are you talking to?
Right.
I think I talked about picking 4 topics that you're passionate about. you know, asking yourself, what is your emphasis? What do you specialize in? And when it comes to your real estate business and all
Do
these
you hear that, all you agents out there? You hear what she's talking about? You just got your license, or maybe you've had your license for 20 years. What do you specialize in and why?
Yep.
What do you specialize in and why? And who are you in that realm? Mm-hmm. Sorry, I had to butt in. I had to throw some.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's awesome. So that's really important, especially when we're coming back to the conversation of connecting with people. These are people that you're going to be passionate about, that you're waking up and excited about meeting with them. Mm-hmm. You're going to like open your ears to hear what their problems are. You want to know what quadrant they're in so that you can meet them where they're at. Mm-hmm. You know, what are they passionate about? Why do they want to sell their house? What do I specialize in? Who am I? Dial that down. It's like 4 levels deep of this. Okay. You know, it's just like we could look at demographics, age. You know, it's like we're marketing to new agents. You know, we have a heart for mamas with families, and we also have a heart for younger agents who are between the ages of 18 and 25.
Or single moms that are real estate agents.
Yes, I have a heart for single moms.
Crazy, like, yeah.
So it's about like when you're building your brand, it's not just about posting your beautiful picture that's on the, on your signs on the bus. Everything. Right. It's about who are you? Who mm-hmm. are you? How are you representing yourself? Who are you representing? And how do I connect with these people? And sometimes it's dialing back into like, I've spent my life connecting and speaking, and I have a heart for single moms.
Okay. That's legit, obviously. You have.
And so maybe you want to help single moms buy houses.
Right.
And so created a message that connects with them, right, along with your passion, for your passion right. about. So that way, when you choose an image or a video or a tip, it's relevant who you want to attract. Right. So these are like just, dialing down and then going through your Facebook.
Right.
And is this person reflect the audience that I want to speak to? Nope.
Then just don't do it. And you're doing them a favor by ditching them. Yep. Because you're not going to give them that. You're not going to connect to it at a level that you need to do that job at the absolute top of the food chain, the A-list agent work. You're just not going to do it if that's not what you want to do.
But Facebook has a secret algorithm. Yes. So the more people, like when I start, like I have all these like missionary people from other countries that want to friend me. I have a public profile.
Right.
And I start saying yes, and then that's all I have coming. I start saying no, right. They disappear off my feed, and I start attracting. Facebook will start like giving me suggestions for single moms or with families and the different things. Facebook is smart.
People don't realize Facebook is geofencing them all the time. They don't realize that they're literally like being, and it's not that they don't realize it. It's like one of those hocus pocus conversations as if it's bad. It's not a bad thing. It's kind of like listening to Amazon Music, right? And it knows what you like because you listen to certain songs. And it may bring up a song that you forgot about that's a great thing to listen to, but you just haven't listened to it in 10 years. But it knows you like that kind of music and it pulls it up. That's algorithm mastery right there.
Absolutely.
So in Facebook marketing, having a person like you that understands and is completely like running parallel with that algorithm on Facebook, not Instagram, not LinkedIn, like you specialize in Facebook. I know that, right?
Yep.
And when someone goes on Facebook to post an ad or burn $20 or $30 or $100 or fucking $20,000, doesn't matter. They need to understand that. And if they don't, there's two ways you can do that. They can either spend years trying to figure it out, months, years, whatever, or they can have someone jump on board, use Triumphal Marketing, use the skills that you possess, and build out something in a much shorter period that we've already tested in real estate.
Yep.
Like we've already done it. And that's actually a big sales point there for utilizing technology, but utilizing it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can create a show. I remember when I worked at, I'm going to stop you. Did I totally interrupt you? I did, didn't I?
It's okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
As long as it's relevant, I'm forgiven. Okay. Oh, I went to work at this amazing agency in Beverly Hills when I first got my license. Owned and run by a dude that I freaking love him to death. I plugged him yesterday on his Monday mantra, Peter Lorimer. Formerly the top of the food chain, Keller Williams, okay? Like number one guy there. And then ultimately created his own brokerage, PLG Estates, Peter Lorimer Estates in Beverly Hills. And that's where I worked. And then recently their Corcorian Luxury in Beverly Hills. But Peter is still around. And I went into his office the very first time and went to my first real estate meeting at his office on Beverly Drive. And it was so like cliche Beverly Hills, like we're all in this. Peter has this, he was in the music industry. So he has this, and he's got this amazing eye for art and style. He's from England. And you walk into his freaking office. I'm sorry. The coolest office I think I've ever been in was the Encino or the Studio City office. It was like you were walking into, Francis Ford Coppola's office for an interview to star in a movie or something. It was just the coolest office. So it was really enjoyable to go work there. And we all meet, and there's all this catered food, and we all go in every week. We have this, and we go in, and we sit down, and Peter does the presentation, and every single thing he is talking about is either YouTube, social media, Instagram specifically, Facebook specifically, building video content, building your own website. Everything he taught was video driven and social media, release. That was what he did. And we did it. Some of the tools I use today to this day that have already been bought out by Adobe and GoDaddy and these other tools, some of the tools that we were using back then, and this was only 4 or 5 years ago, I still use those tools because that's what we were focused on. And I think that's what we got to be focused on. So for all the agents watching today, we are 100% all in on technology and social media advertising and just digital media, because real estate has been changing for a while. I jumped on the wagon, like I said, about 5 years ago, but I've been in real estate more or less my whole life. Before I was doing that, I managed leases for another brokerage before I was actually licensed. But that's what I love to do. So you got to be able to know your market and know what works. And I'm going to totally scatterbrain onto this. I did a post the other day, and it was in talking about our challenge week. And I was doing what I always do. I was testing. I was like, okay, well, I did a video standing at Mountain High the night that I went snowboarding a few weeks ago. And there's 700 views and more comments on that than my live video talking about, something else, right? That's something that you need to know about. Like, you need to understand why that is. Just like what you just said, if you select no to something, it immediately changes how that algorithm works on Facebook for you.
Yep.
That's really important. And someone needs to know that. And it's not me to keep up with it every day. That's your job.
Yeah. And it also, coming back into the conversation of lead generation and Facebook ads.
Right.
Once you kind of target your friends on Facebook and Instagram, because Facebook runs Instagram too. And these ads show up on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But you can actually run ads straight to your Facebook friends.
Right.
And so that's relevant.
Yeah.
That's helpful in a small way, of boosting that post. Or I don't even boost posts because it's kind of a waste of money. But
boost, yeah, it's such a way. Yeah, they're for boost just to throw them up in your face a little more, but they don't do anything. Like people, it's just a money sucker right there.
But
yeah, keep going.
Yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead. No, I was complete.
You were complete. Okay, so this was something that Pete used to tell us at PLG. I love talking about Pete. Pete, I hope you see this one day because you are an inspiration and you still drive me, brother. You are a badass. Pete fucking Lorimer, badass dude. Anyway, he's the guy in that video that we did when we did the big Santa Barbara $53 million listing. That's Pete Lorimer, everybody. And so he would tell us, literally, I'm not kidding. He would tell us, you want to go send mailers and postcards and spend all that money on postage, or you want to go spend $200 on Facebook and end up with a client? Yeah. Like, what's the difference? Like, why would you go out and, I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not going to bash the postcard guys because I see them all the time, especially in suburban America. They're everywhere. But that's the postcard and the printer businesses, not the real estate businesses. That's what they do. They sell you on sending postcards.
One thing that your postcards budget is going to stay consistent every month.
Yeah.
With Facebook, you get those ads dialed in and they go down. You can be running ads for 17 cents an impression.
Right.
When you start, you put them up, you tweak, you play with them and see which ones are popping and showing up the best results, getting you the most leads to your sales page or to your lead magnet, which is you've created, you spent the time, it's dialed in. Yeah. That's your ATM machine, right?
Totally.
And but eventually you can take that 17 cents and create a budget. You can up that budget because you start making more money.
Right.
And you start reaching more people.
Yeah.
But with the postcards, I think it's pretty much, maybe you'll have a little bit of upswing, but.
Well, the houses don't change. So even though there's people moving in and out of the houses, it's still the same address. There's not more or less addresses in a given neighborhood, unless it's like down the way here, the Tejon Pass and all the 15 here, they're building like 10,000 new homes down there, right? So yeah, there's going to be more things to mail to. But for all intents and purposes, between now and like 6 months from now, it's going to be the exact same list for the exact same price. And it's going to go like I always said, it goes from the pile of mail. Oh, another one of these, dump into the garbage.
Yep.
Oh, look, it's Bob again. Cool. Oh, look, it's a married couple, real estate people. I don't know who they are. I could not tell you the name of any of them. I can't, because that's just what they do. Anyway, so where are we at? We're right at homework hour, right? We're right on the hour almost. So homework hour, we were talking about this, and it changed a little bit. How did it change?
You're going to give us homework.
Okay. So all I want from everyone in this challenge is a 2-minute, no more than 3-minute live video. And I want to know, what is your specialty?
Good question.
That's it. And it does not need to be, I'm an expert on new building. I'm an expert on new construction. I'm an expert on historical renovation. I'm an expert on raw land entitlements. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm all, what is your specialty. 2-3 minutes, that's it.
That's it. That's pretty deep, Mike.
It's not that deep. Come on. That's deep? Okay, it's deep. All right, whatever. It's not that deep.
No. But
I'll
to
give you
come in line with your heart purpose.
Yeah, but I'll give you an example. I love motocross. I love riding it, watching it, smelling it, dirt all over me, sprayed with rocks, bruises all over my arms from being behind really fast guys on dirt tracks. I love it. So what do I love about that? I love the adrenaline. I love the feeling. That's what I'm talking about. It's not that deep. We all have it. Some people like to play racquetball. Some people like to hit a golf ball. I never understood that, but I get it. I've done it. It's interesting, but it's not motocross. Or I have a very, very dear friend of mine, brother from another. We went to school together in high school. He races Porsches. If I even say the word Porsche by abbreviating it to Porsche, I get a lecture. He is a Porsche racer. I love it. That's a specialty. That's a passion. That's a gift. So anyway, that's it. It's not that complicated. Do it. Talk about it. I don't care if you talk about your dog. Just get on there and talk about something. Talk about real estate. Talk about what you did yesterday. Talk about a deal you're working on. Talk about anything. Because that's what's going to bring about this social media technology drive that we specialize in here. And that's where these trainings are going to end up at the end of the day. Otherwise, no one's going to see them. No one's going to know who you are. And that needle is not going to move up. It's going to stay flat.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Which the last thing I want to talk about. Weekend Firestorm. I mentioned it earlier. Weekend Firestorm is going to be intense, additional training, one-on-one, deep dive, hot seat time for anyone interested. Check it out. The link's going to be in there. Sienna, make sure we post that. And we can't wait to see the Firestorm crew, because I'll tell you, there is so much to talk about and learn about. We're never going to run out. Never going to run out. And I don't want to run out, because it's the journey that's the fun part. So that's my last, that's all I got today.
Awesome. He brought the fire hose for sure. With the flamethrower.
I really want a flamethrower too, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get a flamethrower. I want one. Yeah. It doesn't need to be like a big giant truck one, like you see in like Road Warrior. That was a pretty cool one where the guy's up with like a big thing. Don't need that one. I just want to have one.
I think we might have one.
Okay, well, send me a picture of it, would you?
It's boring.
Oh, it is? It's just a tank with a freaking thing.
Exactly.
It looks like an exterminator thing.
It's just like a propane tank with a hose on it that my dad uses to light fires.
Yeah, no, we use them on the farm to burn weeds. So I could probably get one, but I want a cooler one than that.
Yeah, you want a cooler one. Yeah.
Yeah, I want a cool one that looks like an AR-15 or something.
Yep.
Like a really gnarly looking like Mad Max one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
then I'll write Mike Herb Estates on the side of it, because I'm a real estate agent with a flamethrower.
Nice.
I think that'll be a
good fire.
Yeah, agents on fire. And I don't mean I'm going to set you on fire. I'm not going to flamethrow it. That's cool. That might be a...
You're going to motivate and you bring people
a Facebook
inspiration.
Yeah, with a flamethrower. Okay.
All right, we're going to close off. I'm going to shut down the live feed and go ahead and drop your live video in the Facebook group and give us what you're passionate about, what your expertise is. And
yes.
any feedback that you have or questions too. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you for coming. See you in the morning.
Yeah.